Yes, so we're live now, Chairman.
Right, thank you very much indeed. So I declare this meeting open. Happy New Year, everybody. I don't think it's going to be much different.
Thank you.
So, declarations of interest, and members are reminded of the legal requirement of the declarations of interest. Does any member have a declaration of interest they wish to declare? No?
No.
Carlo, is that your hand up?
Councillor Leonti, you're on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, that's
I can
fine.
hear you now, yep.
Yes, I have one of the application planning 20/07557 LHE. It's time to be my grandson, so I won't be able to sit on that.
That's fine. So
Thank you.
I can't really ask you to leave the room because you're in your own house. If you could just cut yourself off and leave the room.
Councillor
Okay,
Leon,
thanks,
I have no finance interest, by the way, Madam Chair. I have no finance interest on that. It just is my relation.
Yes, well, I think it's safer to declare an interest, just to be on the safe side.
Councillor
Okay.
Leonti. Sorry, Linda, Chairman, I just need to say, Councillor Leonti, you will need to leave the meeting when it comes to that item, so you will have to go out and then we'll ring you so that you can come back in.
I will do.
Okay.
Okay then, thanks. Thanks, Councillor Leonti. Public question time. Joanne, have we any members of the public wishing to raise questions? Joanne, you're on mute.
I'm trying to unmute with no questions from members of the public.
Right, that's smashing. Thank you. Minutes to approve of otherwise minutes for the meeting held on the 25th of November. Somebody move those? Councillor
Yes.
Leon, may we move those?
Councillor Turner, move them.
Councillor Turner, move them. Thank you. All in favour?
All in favour.
Thank you. Police and community safety issues. Have we got any representatives from the police here?
No, with no police representative
No.
today.
Joanne has very kindly circulated the figures to everybody, so are there any questions anybody wishes to raise?
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
I'm concerned on this problem, crime and figure. Can we that bring to the next meeting?
Certainly, yes. And I mean, hopefully you can always get in touch with PC Dibs and ask him. I'm sure he would be delighted to respond to any questions. So,
Thank you.
any other comments on police and community safety issues? Right, we now move to planning issues. Do we have Catherine somewhere?
You do, Chair. Yes, I'm here.
Right, I can't see you, so I don't.
I will appear at some point, I'm sure, Chair.
Well, that's all right, as long as we know you're there. So,
I'm here, yes.
right, Catherine, do you want to take us through any of these? We'll start with the first one, which is extension to form first floor to side and replacement roof to rear of the conservatory at Little Stone Edge Farm, Gisborne Road, Blacko. We do have one speak on this, Mr. Howard Smith. Are you here?
I'm here, yes. Hello again. Hello?
I can't hear you, Mr. Smith.
Hello?
Can you hear us, Mr. Smith?
We can hear you.
Hello?
Hello? I heard you there. So, do you wish to speak now?
I'll speak now, Renee. We just possibly left it. Can you hear me now?
You're not very clear. So
Can you not hear me?
I can hear you, but are you not close to your microphone?
Hello, I'm a bit close now. Hello again. Hello.
Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Only just.
Yeah, if you want to start, Howard, and then we'll see. We'll stop you if we're having problems.
Shall I start speaking?
Yes, please, Mr. Smith.
Okay, right. We've lived at Little Stonehenge Farm for 20 years. The extension to the property was originally a garage and was then converted by our predecessors. Can you hear me?
You're very faint, Mr. Smith. Please keep
It's
going.
very faint. It's not.
We enjoy floor space at the first floor level, the extension, but it lacks headroom. The purpose of the extension is to remedy that by raising the level of the original extension more in keeping to the building to which they are attached. The planning on the estate states that the whole building is a vacant farm, but it's not. It's part of the original farmhouse. The farm buildings and barn, now converted, being at the other side of the property. There are 3 dwellings within the cluster, therefore the officer's statement that the existing dwelling is semi-detached is incorrect. We don't consider the development to be a poor design. On the contrary, the development will help to enhance the area. There's no loss of amenity in this development, no highway objections to the development, no objections from the public, neighbours or the circulation list. Blackpool Parish Council have given their approval to the development. We need additional space in our property for office facilities. We are encouraged to work at home by the government in the current crisis, and I believe in the years to come this will happen. Even with a vaccine rolling out, we feel that working from home will continue to be commonplace, saving travelling and
Apologies, Mr. Smith. Your voice, your sound has gone. Can you just unmute?
You've disappeared again.
I think you must have clicked on it.
Is that better?
is that better?
That's better, yes.
Right, thank you. Additional space for the for guests to our property would be welcome. I cannot enter a room in the extension without bumping my head and shoulders. In my opinion, the extension at the moment looks out of place and the level should be raised so it is in keeping with the 3 neighbouring properties. We are not wishing to increase the footprint of the current extension and don't consider that the development would be disproportionate to the original building because it simply wouldn't bring it in line with the property of our neighbours. And I do not see how the proposed development would be eroding the character of the original building. Looking closely at the drawings, I can see how the extension may look quite large in comparison to the existing dwelling house. But as previously mentioned, the original farmhouse is split into 2 properties, the second of which is not shown on the drawings. So in actual fact, the extension is not disproportionate when looking at the properties as a whole, as the original farmhouse in its entirety is much larger than the current extension. I don't see how the development could have an adverse effect on footpaths any more than it does now, and I don't consider it's fair to say the views will be blocked by the development. There are no dwellings which are overlooked by the development, and there are no highway or parking issues. In fact, the nearest property to our house that can actually see the extension is over 250 yards away. The proposed roof will be better reflect the roof form of the main building as stated in the SPD guidance and more in keeping with the existing properties. In conclusion, I would say that the proposed development can only help to enhance the character of the area. Those are my comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Catherine, do you have any updates to wish to add or anything? Any comments?
Yeah, through you, Madam Chairman. Obviously, our view is that the design and proportion of the extension is a large extension. I think Mr. Smith referred to working from home and a study, which we completely understand. And at the moment, we are receiving a large number of applications for these type of extensions. However, this one also includes 4 bedrooms and a lounge as well as a study. He mentioned subdividing of the property into 3 as that stands without the removal of PD rights. Each of those properties could also expect to erect a similar size extension on them. And that's what members have to consider. You know, I understand there's no other neighbours nearby. We've said there's no other issues with it. It is purely the design and size of the extension which is causing us concerns and the reasons why we've requested amendments to this and recommending refusal. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Catherine. Councillor Turner?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Madam Chairman, can I draw note to page 4, where a 4th paragraph identifies the southwest elevation, which is what Catherine has just been speaking about, but also it goes on to point out of the proximity to a public footpath, which would give the size of this extension directly to a public footpath with people being able to walk so close to it. I had immense sympathy with people wishing to work from home, because I think a lot of people will have to work from home very shortly. And as a consequence of that, accommodation must be provided. But I do feel the size in proportion to the property is extremely large and raises immense concern. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Right, thank you very much, Councillor Turner. Any others?
Madam Chair, Neil Hodson, Blackpool Parish Council.
Oh, hi, Neil. Yes.
If I could just speak on behalf of the Parish Council, the thing that we, and I've been back to site today just to make sure that we've got it right, or I feel we've got it right. We had no objection in the first place. I know that there are no public response. There's no response at all. There's no loss of amenity. There's no increase in footprint. So proximity to footpaths, I'm struggling to grasp with. And on page 3, bottom of page 3, it says extensions and alterations within the open countryside may be acceptable provided they are proportionate in scale with the original dwelling. If you stand in front of these properties, the left-hand side, where it's got a single-storey extension, doesn't fit. If that roof were raised in line with all the other properties, I feel it will give a better appearance. And on the basis that we didn't object, there's no loss of amenity, I feel that it fits in with the design and impact in the open countryside and no public response. I propose that this proposal is accepted.
Right, thank you very much, Mr. Hodson. Anybody other? Any other?
Good afternoon, Chair.
Pardon?
Good afternoon, Chair. It's Councillor Brian Newman here.
Oh, hi, Councillor Newman. Yes.
Yes, I've been looking at this and listening to the conversation. I'm sorry to say that I will not support this because of the design and the impact on the area of natural beauty. I think we're going to have to look more closely at these applications as time goes on, because more and more people are now going to have to look to the countryside for their walking and enjoyment. And I think if we carry on like this, we're going to spoil it for everyone. That is all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Newman. So it has actually been moved that this application be approved against the office of recommendation. Do you have a seconder for that, Mr. Hodson?
Mr. Hodson, you're on mute.
Yeah, I realised. Sorry. Noel would have supported. Councillor McAvoy would have supported it, but he's not in the meeting, unfortunately.
No, unfortunately, Councillor McAvoy is working.
Yeah. So I don't, and I haven't spoke to any other person to see if they were willing to support it.
Mm. Councillor Newman, are you making a proposal that this application be refused?
Yes, Chair, I am.
Do you have a seconder?
I have no idea. Well, I have to go through everyone to find out.
Mm.
Can we just ask if anybody's willing to second Councillor Newman's proposal?
Madam Chairman, sorry about that. I'll second.
Thank you, Councillor Turner. Your second.
My apologies, I was having difficulty getting through to you.
Yes, I understand that because it is most unsatisfactory. I don't know what we're going to do about it, but so it has been moved and seconded that this application be refused. All in favour that the application is refused, please show I am voting that the application be refused. Councillor Turner?
Agreed, I refuse.
Mm-hmm.
Councillor Leonte, are you voting on this? You're on mute, Councillor.
You're on mute, Councillor.
Is now joining.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Hello, we can hear you, yes.
Yeah, I have no objection.
Just to be clear, so are you voting to refuse, Councillor Leonte?
I have an objection.
No objection to the application?
So, sorry, can I just go back a bit? We do have a proposal for this application be refused, which has duly been seconded. So we'll now vote on that. All those in favour of refusal, I will
Refuse.
Councillor Turner, you're voting for refusal. Yeah.
That's right.
Can I just ask everybody to mute, please, because there is some really bad interference. Join the meeting and not on mute, sorry. Okay. So I just need to be clear.
Yes, can we all be clear on how we're voting, please? Those voting for refusal, please indicate. Just tell Joanne that you're voting for refusal.
Councillor Newman, I refuse this application.
Councillor Turner
refusal.
and myself. So. Councillor Leonte, you're voting against that. Mm-hmm.
Councillor Leonte, can you unmute, please, and say exactly what are you refusing or not? You're on mute. You're on mute. I can hear you now. So we just want to know if you're refusing this application. Sorry?
No, I'm not refusing.
Okay,
No,
okay, thank you.
Right.
Sorry about that.
So far we've got 3 refusals and 2 non-refusals.
So this application has been refused.
Right, thank you very much.
Now the police are here, Linda, so I don't know whether you just want to... I don't know whether you want the police to now come in before the next application.
Yes, I think as they've taken...
And then the police can leave.
Yes.
Okay.
DC Dibs?
Hello, good afternoon.
Can you hear us?
Yes, we can hear you. Hear us.
Right. And we can hear you, Mark, so...
Right. Crime figures, we've had a quick look. They're pretty static. Major crimes of note haven't taken place on us. We've had a lot of farm theft, trailers, quads, etc. Mainly top end of Corn, bordering North Yorkshire, and also Gisborne area, but obviously with our local sort of community and advise them. 3 lads were locked up the other night from West Yorkshire following the theft of some farm equipment. So that's been progressed at the moment. Main issues we've had have been around barley with the recent snowfall and influx of visitors to the Pendleside villages.
On the landline, but I've got I'm on a meeting at the moment, so sorry. I don't think so. No, don't worry about it, Mum. He's still working. To be honest with you, he's still got his classes. So
whoever's on the telephone, we can all hear you. So if you can just mute, that would be great, and then the police can continue. Thank you,
Elizabeth Holden.
Sorry, Mark, if you'd like.
Is now exiting.
So, unfortunately, last weekend, the new COVID regulations weren't in place. So our powers were very limited last weekend with dealing with incidents over in Barley. To follow on from that, I've had a meeting today with the new owners of the Barley Moor and Waj Iqbal, who's the new licensing officer for Pendle. Quite a productive meeting. We can't see any sort of issues of a similar nature occurring again. And obviously now with the new lockdown regulations, there is obviously no alcohol sales on the premises or off the premises. So visitor numbers this week have been a lot less. I've been over all this week. Kinga was on last weekend and she was over there. Main issue was, I think, once it started to snow, everybody tried to sort of leave the area, which caused issues. We've dealt with those best we can, but it was sort of unforeseen circumstances. I don't know if anybody from the Pendleside villages have got any issues in relation to that or any points they want to raise. I have spoke with Councillor Derek Heat, who's informed me that the application has gone in for double yellow lines to go through Barley and some passing places. Obviously, double yellow lines will have to be enforced by LCC. The police had that power taken from them a number of years ago. But hopefully it will alleviate a lot of issues in the future.
Right, thank you very much indeed, Mark. Has anybody questions they want to ask, PC Dim?
Could I ask a question, please?
Mr. Oliver? Mr. Oliver, you have your hand up.
Yes, thank you. I see that assaults in Barrowford have gone up a bit. I mean, nothing drastic, but I wondered if there was an issue there that needed that we needed to know about.
No, there's no major sort of public order situation. It's again, some of those are domestic related, which again we have seen an increase due to COVID restrictions and people being sort of in the same house for long periods of time. And unfortunately, it's just a sign of the times. There's no serious assaults that have come to place. There's no innocent members of the public being attacked or anything like that. So it's unfortunately, it's just a national issue with the COVID.
Thank you very much indeed, Peter.
Yes, thank you.
I'm glad to hear that, actually. Councillor Turner?
No comments. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you.
Derek
Has
Heath
anybody
wants to
any
speak, Chair.
other questions they wish to ask?
Councillor Newman here. Could I ask?
Councillor Newman, yes.
Could I ask PC Dib a question?
Yes, certainly.
Right. My question is, now that the car park has been closed in Barley, is there going to be any enforcement for blocking the road into Barley by cars because they have nowhere to go now?
Well, technically, if people are driving into Barley, they shouldn't be because they're breaching COVID.
Yes.
The regulations and guidelines are you exercise in your own village, town or city, or the nearest available open space. We will openly be challenging people, which I did yesterday, and I'm sent somebody back to Preston. But we will deal with any parking issues that if they're causing an obstruction, which is the only power the police have, we will deal with that, but we won't be ticketing every single car that's parked on the main road out of Barley.
Right, okay, I understand what you're saying, but there needs to be some form of monitoring down there, because I spent 3/4 of an hour trying to get out of Barley, trying to do a breakdown the other day, and it's absolutely ridiculous. So I think some form of enforcement must be shown down there.
We can only enforce what's within the law.
Yeah.
The Road Traffic Act.
Yeah. And that is obviously vehicles that park anywhere, discriminately anywhere, in gate holes and one thing and another, so that farmers can't get out, surely. Is that a fact?
It is, but we have to look at the risk and threat that we've got divisionally. And which day are you on about in question? Was it when it was snowing?
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
As you can imagine, resources were stretched to the absolute limit.
Oh, yeah.
Throughout the east of the division.
Yeah, the poor girl up there, the PCSO, was actually in tears, trying to sort something out around there.
Yeah, it was myself. I wouldn't say I was in tears.
You look very much like you were.
Yeah, I had some of the locals who weren't best pleased with were trying to dictate to me how to do my job.
Right.
Were telling me to do stuff that was, that wasn't within legislation, which I couldn't do, and it's not my job to, for example, tell people to get off private fields, because that's not for police to deal with. So yeah, when I had tens of people or a number of people telling me how to do my job, which actually was wrong, and then other people arguing. Yes, it was stressful. I managed the best that I could on my own.
That's correct. Yeah.
You have our sympathies, actually.
Yeah. There was nobody that could have come out to help me, because what people don't realise, just because there was a bit of snow, we still have to deal with other emergencies, and unfortunately we just don't have the resources. So I think, yes, it was a bit of a but my main aim that day was to get people back home safely, because we did have people all the way from Liverpool, from Preston, from Blackpool, and there were a lot of inexperienced drivers which were struggling. So I think that was that's why the chaos was.
I am not decrying what you were doing, because I saw you and I felt really sorry for you. But I thought if I stop, I'm going to create another problem.
Yeah, well,
so,
we won't.
Anyway, I think
thanks for that anyway.
What they did, they had a very difficult job and under tiring circumstances. So, Mr. Heap, you've got your hand up. Derek, Mr. Heap.
Thank you, Chair.
Yes.
Just a couple of points from Barley. Clarification on the yellow road lines. They're not going through Barley. They are passing places on Barley Lane, which is the road up to Pendle Hill, and on Barley Road, which is the road from Barley through to Roughlee. They'll be short length passing places, maybe length of 3 or 4 cars with double yellow lines to allow vehicles to pass when we get the high volumes of visitors. On both roads, particularly on Barley Lane, when you've got 130, 140 cars parked bumper to bumper, and there's only room for one more vehicle, and you get 2 vehicles coming in one direction that meet in the middle, and then vehicles back up behind them, we get not just congestion, we get gridlock. So I'm hoping those passing places will be with us soon, and they're being brought in under the guise of the COVID-19 regulations relating to traffic regulation orders, emergency works. Second thing is regarding the car park being closed. We Parish Council have decided to do this to support the government's message of stay at home. It worked successfully for us the first time round, and we're hoping it's going to be the same. We know that in the early days we will get people still coming, and particularly if there's snow around and early sunshine at the weekend, and we're aware of the risk that we might cause some congestion on the highway network. But the message we're really trying to reaffirm is that people should stay at home and help quell the spread of this virus. Last thing I'd say to the police officer is I'm very sorry about the maybe abuse that she got from some of the residents from Barley, and maybe it does show the level of distress that some residents feel they're under. There was no explanation for that, and so I apologise on behalf of the village. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Heath. Has anybody any other questions they wish to ask PC Dibs or Kanga?
No.
Councillor Leonti has his hand up.
Councillor Leonti? Yes? You're on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Better?
Mike, it's Councillor Carlo. The only thing I'm a little bit concerned is in the future. I know you're stressed, and and the funds are very limited. But what worries me, as you know, we're going to be closed for another 2 or 3 months, and I can see once we open, there's going to be a lot of people unemployed, and a lot of them employed people means no work, more crime. So are we going to be prepared for this problem?
Well, it's not something I can answer at local level. It's something the Chief Constable needs to answer, because I don't know what the plans from the constabulary are at that level. However, obviously we've got an increase in officers through training now, so within the next 12 to 18 months we should see an increase in officer numbers. On the back of that, they set up a team which are targeting organised crime, burglaries, drugs, etc. So that is an increase in our response, and hopefully we will see a steady increase in the officer numbers, which should address any sort of further increases in risk and threat.
Thank you very much, PC Dibs.
Thank you, Mike.
Any other questions to PC Dibs? No? Well, thank you very much, PC Dibs, for coming along and
thank you very much.
Explaining some of the figures to us, and good luck with everything. So, thank you very much, Mr. Heath. Catherine, you've got your hand up.
Yes, Madam Chair.
Yes.
It was just to go through, we do have an update report. It was just before members continue speaking on it. So it was just to draw your attention to the fact that we have got amended plans, which reduce the number of window openings and resolve the issues raised in the report. So it now makes it acceptable to us with an amended condition. Once I think members have gone through it, I will come back with some further comments on that. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Catherine. Councillor Turner?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Madam Chairman, I didn't hear all that Mr. Heap said, but I would draw reference to paragraph 2, page 16, where the suggestion of the development site in a sustainable location and its remoteness, and it would require the use of motor vehicles in a very difficult situation, which if one looks at LCC's highways, they are not, of course, directly in support of it. Para 4 The drawings indicate impact on the footpath, and I would like to be absolutely assured that no footpath is obstructed or people are given difficulty on use of them. And on page 17, para 3, the supply of water. Now, whilst it is all coming from springs, this is good when there is an abundant supply, but we don't always get an abundant supply, especially with global warming that is coming. We could find very soon a reduction in the amount of water, which could cause immense difficulty. So I'd like to see some resolution to that. And on page 18, bullet point 3, para 2, the roof of the red brick building is in blue stone slate, and of course it is important that they are looking for new Indian slate, that all the buildings should be of a similar nature to manufacture to make sure it all comes into conclusion together. The officer comments draw reference to ENB 1, 2 and 4, and they all raise issues. I am a little disappointed that we are not actually looking to resolve it, other than to delegate consent to officers. We are here to make a decision rather than to delegate decisions to officers. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you very much, Councillor Taylor. Anybody else? No?
Madam Chair, could I speak, please?
Yes, certainly, Councillor Leonti. Yes.
No, it's Councillor Newman.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Newman. It was Councillor.
Yeah, it's all right, yeah. I've looked at this, and my personal view is that it's too large an impact on the environment in the countryside, and I'm afraid I cannot support this. Thank you.
Right, thank you, Councillor Newman. Catherine, you were wishing to come back in?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Yes, if I could just go through a couple of issues that were raised there. Yes, in terms of designing the A1B, obviously that is a great consideration. But the way we deal with the details of an application is through conditions, and that is what the regulations require us to do. It's what the law says. If we can deal with it by condition, then we do. Obviously, if we can provide details of that at the time of the application, it helps us a great deal, and it means we don't have to put the conditions on. But we found AONB conservation area, it's much better if we get samples of materials anyway. As you said, then we can go on site and look at that and check that we are getting the right materials for that area, and it is important that we do that. Some of the issues regarding services and the access and damage to that are private matters. So we cannot get involved in those. Our view is on the design of things that a barn should be retained as a barn. We can change its use, but how it looks in terms of visual impact, that's why we minimise the number of openings, and that's what we've got on the amended plans. And we look to try and keep the character of that building so it can still be read and people going past will still see the farmhouse and the barn. And that's how it should be in our view. I think there was an issue about, I think Councillor Newman raised it about not it being too much development, and I think there was an issue about it being near the footpath. I think the countryside access officer looked at the red edge of the application and said that includes the public footpath. The building does not extend, it doesn't move beyond that, so there is no impact on the footpath, but obviously it will be seen from public views when people are walking past that. In terms of the delegate grant consent, that has now been amended on the update report, which I just referred to, which has changed it to approval. The reason we delegated grant consent is because we're waiting for amended plans to come in. If we are still waiting things from the agent or statutory consultees, we will always suggest that it's delegated to the officers if members are happy with that. for us to deal with it rather than bringing it back to a future meeting. The reference to EMB4, looking at it and reading the rest of the report is obviously in error, and apologies for that. And I think that covers most of the points that were raised. So our recommendation is now to approve this application with those conditions. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Catherine. Any other member? Councillor Newman, have you anything else you wish to say?
No, Madam Chair, only that I will not support this.
Right, Mr. Heath, do you have anything else you wish to add?
Chair, I think, can you hear me, Chair?
Yes.
I think I've covered the key points. Catherine has addressed a couple of them, but there's still the appearance and that the large red building concern for us about the services, certainly for the residents up there. Thank you.
Right, thank you very much. So the officer recommendation is now to approve. So we either move to approve it or refuse it. So is there any, Councillor Newman, did I gather you were?
Yeah, I would propose that we refuse this application.
And on the grounds of?
On the grounds that, hang on a minute, I've got my writing somewhere. Impact on the environment, and I think it's a poor design.
I think that's definitely poor design isn't acceptable.
Right, okay.
Reason for refusal, isn't it, Catherine?
That is correct, Madam Chair.
Thank you. So it has been moved that this application is refused on the grounds of poor design. I will support that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I'll support it as well, Madam Chairman.
Councillor Turner, right, thank you. Councillor Leonte?
I'll support you as well.
So it has been moved and seconded that this application be refused on the grounds of poor design and overdevelopment. Can we include overdevelopment? No.
Through you, Madam Chairman, not overdevelopment, no, because it's a conversion.
Right, fair enough then. So it has been moved, seconded that this application be refused. All in favour of refusal, please show.
Yes.
Yes. Councillor Leonte, myself, Councillor Turner.
Councillor Turner, yes.
And Councillor Newman.
Yes, Councillor Newman.
Right, thank you. So we're all in favour of refusal.
Refusal, yeah.
Yep.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. So we now move on to Barrowford, erection of 3 dwelling houses at land southwest of Whitehall, Barrowford. Does anybody Mr. Oliver?
Councillor Chairman, we've got 3 speakers on this application.
Sorry, yes, I have made note of that. And so, Mr. Holden, Mr. Nelson, and Mr. Lee. Who wishes to go first? Holden?
Can I raise as a preliminary issue this, please, first of all? I only found out about the fact of this meeting quite by chance a couple of days ago. You will see from the planning portal that very many people have objected for various reasons with the retrospective planning permission that's been sought in respect of the 3 properties, the subject of this application. None of them are able to attend today because of the time of the meeting, because of lockdown. None of them have been notified of the meeting until last night, when I was able to notify my neighbours of the fact of this meeting. I came to know about this quite by chance and have had very little time to prepare what is a very difficult and complicated objection to this planning permission. There are objections taken in principle to the application, and also, if it is granted in principle, to the terms that are to be granted, and we can go into that in more detail in due course. But what I am seeking in the first instance is a determination that this hearing be adjourned in order that those who have objected be properly notified and can be able to join the meeting, make their objections known and speak if they wish to.
Right, thank you, Mr. Holden.
Madam
Any
Chairman,
Councillor Turner?
Madam Chairman, listening to that comment, and I can appreciate the difficulties of people saying that, we did in fact adjourn a decision last meeting. May I suggest that we adjourn this to the next Barrowford and Western parishes when the residents do have that opportunity, and I would propose that this matter be adjourned to the next meeting.
Thank you, Councillor Turner. Any other councillor? Councillor Turner has proposed that this application be deferred until the next meeting. Councillor Yonte? Yes.
Madam Chairman, I'll support that.
You'll support that, right? Thank you. Mr. Oliver? Mr. Oliver?
Sorry, I had to unmute. I'm not. Can you hear me okay now?
I can hear you, yes.
Thank you. I'm not quite sure if I can second Councillor Turner's proposal,
yes,
but if I can, I will.
So you're seconding the proposal that this application be deferred to allow the residents who haven't been able to attend to attend. I'm quite happy to go along with that.
Yeah. So am I, Madam Chair. Councillor Newman.
Catherine?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairman. Just to bring to everybody's attention, we don't send letters out to notify neighbours that it's on the committee. They are advised to check the websites and all the information, obviously, as members know and parish councillors know, is on the website when the committee meetings are to be held, and the agendas go out 5 working days before. We've not sent letters out informing people for some time now, certainly over 12, 18 months, longer than that. So it is up to the individuals to check and make sure that if that item is on the agenda, that they put their names down to speak before 12 noon on the meeting. Thank you.
Right, thank you very much.
Madam Chairman, if I may raise a point there.
Councillor Turner, I can't hear you.
Yeah, Madam Chairman, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Right, Madam Chairman, can I come in on that? And I appreciate what Catherine is saying, and I appreciate the elements of what she's saying is correct.
Elizabeth Holden.
However, what I would say, I
is now joining.
Unfortunately, haven't been able to visit this site for a few weeks, for quite a few weeks when it first came up previously, due to personal reasons and also with lockdown. And had we have done a site visit or visited it, the residents would have then known. And as a consequence of that, I support wholeheartedly that we defer it to the next meeting, when at least the residents will have been well informed.
Thank you very much, Councillor Turner.
Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. So it has been moved and seconded that this application be deferred until the next meeting to allow the residents, to give the residents notification and time to attend the meeting. All in favour of the deferral?
I agree.
Councillor Turner, Councillor Leonte.
Councillor Newman.
Councillor Newman, right?
Yeah. Yes, I'm in favour.
I'm sorry, when I can't see you, I tend to get you there, Councillor Newman, as if I could do that. So,
right.
So
Chairman,
I just read that the application be deferred to the next meeting to give residents time to attend
Chairman, shall I just point out the next meeting is on Thursday, the 28th of February, and it will be in the evening at 7 o'clock.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Are there any mix up with other meetings?
Yeah.
Right. Planning application 20/0749, and it's a conversion of barn to 2 holiday lets and siting of 5
Elizabeth
holiday
Holden.
cabins. And this is a resubmission. And we do have
Is
quite
now exiting.
speakers for this. Becky Mull.
Hello, yes, thank you very
You're
much.
here,
Chair.
right? Thank you. Stuart Forshaw. Stuart Forshaw.
Yes, I'm here.
Forshaw?
Yes, I'm here, Chairman.
You're here, right, thank you.
Yes.
And Robin Willoughby.
Yes, I'm here.
Right, thank you. Who wishes to go first? Becky, do you wish to go first?
Yes, certainly. Thank you, Chair. As a resident of Sabden Fold and a Goldshire Booth Parish Councillor, I strongly object to the proposed development of luxury holiday cabins at Stone Fold. My main objections are twofold: the unacceptable impact on the AOMB and the significant risk to highway safety resulting from the increased pressure on the single track access via Stump Hall Road. In the interest of time, I'm just going to focus on the AOMB aspect. There is a significant body of local opposition to this development. The planning statement argues that the development meets a social objective to support strong, vibrant and healthy communities and support community health, social and cultural well-being. But ironically, this community is overwhelmingly against the proposed development and determined to protect our cherished AOMB. This is demonstrated by the large numbers of letters of objection on the planning portal and the petition of 138 people who oppose the development. Plus, there are strong objections from the CPRE and a well-known walks leader. Construction of these 5 holiday lodges with their lighted boardwalks, verandas and hot tubs in the middle of the valley will be wholly inappropriate to the character of this unique rural landscape. Hundreds of visitors come to admire this area, and a myriad of footpaths and bridle paths provide access for walkers, cyclists, horse riders to enjoy a beautiful, tranquil valley, locally termed a hidden gem. Sabden Falls Valley and Conservation Area, renowned for rural calm and tranquility, possess unique geological and ecological features, as well as great historical significance. Noise and light pollution from the development will be extremely detrimental. Any resident of Sabden Fold will testify that even the sound of a dog barking clearly reverberates around the valley. And so holidaymakers, revelling in hot tubs, partying and barbecuing, music pairing would undoubtedly shatter peace and nightscape. The applicant may hope to attract quiet and respectful visitors. This is impossible to control or govern through conditions, and the need to make a profitable return may well be precedence, this or indeed with a future owner. The proposed development is not in keeping with the environment and it will impinge on the visitor experience. Policy ENV1 indicates that development should make a positive contribution to the protection, enhancement, conservation and interpretation of our natural and historic land environment. And I argue that the proposed development will be extremely damaging in these regards and indeed would be counterproductive, destroying the very thing that attracts visitors in the first place. While by trees, they will still be obvious and intrusive, especially when viewed from the high ridges of the half of the trees are deciduous, and so the buildings will stand out in winter months. And I've got photographic evidence from the recent times to demonstrate the fact. In conclusion, I argue that the proposed development poses an unacceptable impact on the character and tranquility of the AONB, and therefore I urge the committee to reject it again. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Becky. Stuart? Stuart Forshaw, yes?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Can you hear me okay, Madam Chair?
Can hear you, yes.
I've made my objections to this development several times already in its various guises. What we seem to have now is the same application again and recommended for refusal by the planning officer. The previous two applications on this site have also been refused on grounds of highway safety and an unacceptable impact on the AONB. So what has changed? You'll be aware of the significant weight and number of objections to this development, just as I'm aware of the strapline on the top of our own letter headings, which say Pendle, local democracy at work. I'm not going to waste time going through the lengthy list of reasons why people have objected, but I will say this: local people's lives matter. The weight and substance of local objections suggests that any development such as this would have a substantial negative impact upon many people's lives and enjoyment of this area for years and generations to come. I dispute a lot of the aspects of the planning officer's report, which suggests foul water and chemically treated water from jacuzzis discharged into a septic tank system can be ensured by condition. I dispute the highway safety can be managed by the construction of visibility displays when this has more to do with the absolute amount of traffic using Stumphall Road and the danger that poses to hikers, cyclists, horse riders, families out for walks with their children and grandchildren. I dispute the report from the Highways Office, which is based on a very dubious and misleading traffic survey carried out in lockdown. These roads aren't used by local traffic. I've been walking them for 25 years. I've seen traffic volumes build and build and build. My own estimate is that traffic levels are down by as much as 75% in lockdown, and notwithstanding the large number of online shopping deliveries. And I'm not sat in an office in Pendle or Preston. I'm actually out there walking the walk. Under the heading of principle of the development, the planning officer talks about an identified need for tourist accommodation such as this in the area. Where is that evidence? There's a lengthy report from some Preston company, PWA, submitted by the applicant, which quotes data for the whole of Lancashire on numbers of visitors, their spending and what they're looking for. Are we to assume that Blackpool and the other major tourist destinations of the Fylde Coast have some correlation with the Sabden Valley and Bowland Forest? I've got 40 years experience as a leisure and hospitality analyst in the city. Rarely have I come across such a flaky, inadequately researched business proposal. The whole concept is flawed. It's based on some strange delusion that city dwellers are going to spend money to come and sit in hot tubs, in self-catering accommodation, in log cabins heated by dangerous wood-burning stoves in the middle of nowhere, when the Lake District, with all that it has to offer, is just over an hour's drive away, less if you're travelling from the north. There is actually plenty of suitable accommodation in the area for the numbers of hikers, walkers and cyclists and other visitors who want to spend time in the Forest of Bowland. One of the objectors, who's done some proper research, suggests there are as many as 140 accommodation options within a 4.5-mile radius of the site and the Sabden Valley. Well, moving on to the AONB, can anyone tell me how this development complies with the policy extracts ENV1, 2 and WRK5 in any way, shape or form? It doesn't conserve or enhance the landscape and scenic beauty of the AONB. It doesn't promote the type of tourism envisaged for AONBs. It doesn't fulfill an existing need for accommodation that isn't already met. And it's not accessible by public transport with just one bus every 2 hours from a village that is a difficult 20-minute trek away. Difficult enough in the daylight, but in the dark, almost impossible.
Can I ask you to start winding up now?
I can guarantee you, looking out the window, that it's not going to extend the tourist season either. But what it would do is have a significant detrimental impact on the environment and potentially open the floodgates for further unacceptable development in this very special area of Pendle, our Pendle, that is. And I move that the application should be refused by this committee.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Willoughby? Mr. Willoughby?
Yes, can you hear me now?
I can hear you, yes.
Thank you very much. You might remember that I spoke to you on this matter at your meeting last July, and I didn't expect to be speaking on much the same thing now, or the same thing precisely. You rejected the application on 3 grounds: inappropriate development in the AONB, highway and access safety, and drainage issues. And after you, the Policy and Resources Committee then rejected it overwhelmingly on the first 2 of those grounds. It is open to the applicant to appeal that decision, and I believe that an appeal has actually been notified. And I don't understand why this application now before you has in fact been pursued, because as the planning report confirms, the only material difference between the previous application and the present one is the production of 2 documents: a 1-week traffic survey and a slightly revised visibility display. Those purport to address the highway safety issues, but in fact, at best, they only go part way in arguably, although I think unsatisfactorily, dealing with the substandard access issue. They don't address the other part of unacceptable increase in traffic. And there's absolutely nothing new at all that has not already been before both committees to address the AONB objections. So the planning officer's recommendation is to refuse this application on the AONB ground in order to be consistent with the previous decision. But I'd hope that the reason actually goes somewhat beyond that and is also one of substance. I won't go through the policy wordings in detail, but the technical argument in brief is that this proposal would constitute an obvious change of the settlement character, which clearly doesn't on its face satisfy the basic requirement of conserving as such the existing landscape character. It would change it in that area. And this part of the AONB has got the highest status of protection. There's got to be very good reasons on a needs basis for an exception to those principles. And the only reason in this case would be a clear and significant tourism benefit, which doesn't contravene the associated requirements of need, sustainability, and proximity to public transport and services without significant increase in car usage. Well, you've just heard from Mr. Forshaw on those. It clearly doesn't. There are many concerns on surrounding issues here, but not only in relation to traffic safety and access points, but various other matters that have never even been properly addressed, such as proposal for an on-site shop, but no application for one, a bat survey that only deals with the barn conversion and doesn't address the cabin site in the midst of the bat's immediate foraging area, and a repeatedly unanswered question on the impossibility of refuse wagon access and refuse container siting. Now, on the last application, the planning officer did try to help the applicant by proposing various conditions which met a few of the matters, not the ones I've mentioned. He put forward things about tree planting and skip screening, sewage and lighting, one or two others, which could be met, he said, by conditions. But in practice, some of those conditions, for example, the tree planting, have a limited life, and there would be risks in the longer term. And they didn't cover many of the potential issues, some of which I've mentioned, and some which simply can't be regulated by regulations, like conditions, that is, such as noise, which Ms. Becky Morell mentions. But the overriding basic point here is that this development shouldn't be happening in this special AONB area. And I'd like to quote the words of one of the councillors at the Policy and Resources Committee, which really encapsulate the essence of it all. He said, "I'm beginning to wonder why we have a designated area of natural beauty. What is the benefit of designating an area, and why do we do this sort of thing? I presume we do it to protect the area because it's such a superb landscape, and we happen to have a bit of one. I just find it rather odd that we're going through this rigmarole of discussing things," he meant the conditions, "to try to make it fit. I just don't believe that these cabins are in the right place." So I would urge you to accept the planning officer's recommendation to refuse this application on the grounds of unacceptable impact and harm on the AONB and consistency with the council's previous decision on precisely the same facts. And incidentally, I believe that if you refuse on that overarching ground, you're confirming the previous one. There shouldn't be any costs issue that you haven't already undertaken, such as it is. And when it goes to an appeal, if it does, that would actually enable those more surrounding issues that I've mentioned also to be considered.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Willoughby. Right, Mr. Tetley. Mr. Tetley.
Yeah.
Yes. You wish to speak?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, right. Right, I'd just like to comment on the research that's been done by the people today. It is unbelievable. There's nobody could have done any more work than what the researchers have done. The site, Mrs. Whitehouse is a marketing executive, so it's quite obvious what she's thinking about. One of the things that does worry me is if it ever did get planning permission, she would sell it on at an exorbitant profit, and then the big boys would come in like they do all with the old small little caravan sites and everything else, and then they'll get planning permission because you've already had it once, so nobody's going to be able to stop it. The lady says she wants to share the beauty of the valley, so why spoil it by introducing this type of development? She said she's moved here because she absolutely loves the tranquility. Your tranquility will disappear overnight. And the other thing is, I don't need to say so much because they've said it all, but that top road is extremely busy. As Mr. Forshaw said, it's down probably 75%. A lot of the residents keep coming to me and saying, look, that road is getting more and more dangerous. We also have another situation where we have the actual racetrack on there that happens to be happening on a regular basis, and that does concern me. And a lot of people that would be using this development would people that's coming out of cities that's not used to driving on country roads, which we've had an experience of that this weekend on Barley, where a bit of snow or anything else, but they're not used to driving on these narrow lanes. I spent 75 years driving on country lanes because that's where I come from. I come from Roughly originally. And it's an art in itself, and you can see the people today, they just come on and they haven't a clue. They drive 2 foot away from the banking at the side of the road. So they're smack in the middle of that narrow lane. And if one of them has to reverse, well, you could be better off getting your sandwiches out and your flask and having a brew, because they just haven't a clue how to drive. So I recommend that you refuse it, because this has gone on far too long now and it should be put to bed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tetley. Councillor Turner?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Madam Chairman, I'm certainly going to oppose this, and I'm going to oppose it on the stage of the officers' decisions of outstanding natural beauty on EMB1. But in so doing, I'd also draw reference to the highways issue. There have been two accidents in the last 6 years, one within the last 18 months with personal injury, and as a consequence of that, that does identify quite clearly the dangers on the major road, and the visibility display, although it may have attempted to be increased, it hasn't really developed it very much at all. On para 9 of the MPPF, that it should be refused on highway grounds if there's an unacceptable impact on highway safety. That has just been established. Para 172 points out that the convergence onto the landscape and the scenic beauty of national parks, and we should refuse it on National Planning Policy 172 on its assault onto the area of outstanding natural beauty, and I would propose that this matter is refused. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Turner. Catherine, you were wishing to come in?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairman. Just to go over a couple of points that were raised, and obviously just to steer members in the right direction. Obviously, it is recommended for refusal. Our view is, and that of LCC Highways, that the highways issue has been satisfactorily addressed. Obviously, the impact on the OMB that it was refused on at PNR hasn't been, and that's why the recommendation is still to refuse, but purely on that basis. Obviously, because the council's decision has already been made on the scheme previously, we have to ensure that any reason for refusal ties in with that previous decision. Therefore, my recommendation would be not to add anything else to that and purely to refuse on that basis. As we say, they've got one decision notice with the two reasons on. I think an appeal has been lodged, but I don't know if we've got a start letter date for that as yet. But that will sort that out at the inspectors will look at that issue. So my recommendation would be to stick with what the officer has said and refuse it on that basis. And then we can make that decision today. If you do wish to add anything further to that or the Airways issue, my recommendation would be that it gets referred to Policy and Resources Committee. Thank you.
May I suggest, Madam Chairman, that my proposal is refusal on 172 of the National Planning Policy.
I'm sorry, I missed that. Councillor Turner, was that you?
My proposal is to refuse on Para 172 of the MPPF, Madam Chairman.
Thank you.
That is in the recommendation for refusal, as well as the local plan policies. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. So, any other councillor?
Madam Chair, could I just say that I propose that we do.
Of course you can, Councillor Newman.
Right, thank you. That I propose that we do refuse this. We seem to be going round and round with this one, with the same application coming in with a slight difference, but with nothing that will make it any better than what it was right at the very beginning. And I think that we should refuse this and put it to bed once and for all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Newman. I will second that. And Councillor Turner?
Yeah, I did propose that.
Oh, you did propose, yes. I'm sorry.
That's all right, no problem. I'm happy to go with it, obviously.
So it has been moved and seconded that this application be refused on the grounds of the unacceptable harm to the landscape and scenic beauty of the area of outstanding natural beauty. This committee has a good reputation when dealing with the areas of outstanding natural beauty. We tend to try and protect the areas of outstanding natural beauty as much as we can. So it has been moved and seconded that this application be refused. Can we ask them not to put in another one? Who's that beyond our powers?
Yeah, you can ask that they won't listen to you.
Yeah. Well said, Chair.
So it's been moved and seconded this application be refused. All in favour?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Councillor Turner?
Yes.
Councillor Newman?
Yes.
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 Councillor Leon.
Right,
Yes.
thank you.
Yes.
Yes, right. So the application is refused.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, no problem. Right, 20/075.
Well, that's a unanimous decision, Madam Chair.
That is a unanimous decision, yes.
Madam Chair, the next one I'll
Thank
move.
you. Thank you.
So,
Madam Chair,
yes.
I'll move.
Can't see you. Yes,
Hear me?
yes, I can hear you, yes.
I'll go to the other room.
Right, yes, you have to for this one, yes.
Councillor Leonti, you actually have to physically leave the meeting and then you'll have to come back in. You can't just go into another room. You have to leave the meeting. Sorry about that. Sorry about that.
At the
It's
top
just
of your screen on the...
Can you go out and make us all a pizza? Thank you very much.
Yeah, it'll be the top of your screen on the right-hand side. You'll see a button that says leave.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm looking for it.
So permitted development notification proposed larger home extension. Erection of a single-storey flat roof extension to the rear at 19 Acresbrook Road, Higham.
There is a speaker, Chair.
There is indeed. Mr. Morton, and there's a letter that I believe Joanne or David are going to read out.
that's right.
Right.
I think David's volunteered for that.
Did I? I don't remember that.
You don't remember doing that, David? Never mind.
Well done, David.
Strange things happen when you disappear for a minute.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll second that.
You want me to read the letter
Please,
first?
yes.
Or... Okay. It's a good job I took a copy then. Okay, this is as written by the residents of Cophurst Avenue at Higham. So, Madam Chairman, members of the committee, planning application reference 20//0757/LHE 19 Acresbrook Road, Higham, Burnley. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to respond to the planning officer's comments regarding the application for this larger home extension. Our overriding view is that the neighbouring properties would not be unduly impacted. We completely disagree with this assessment because of the many reasons we have set out in our letters of objection, which committee members will have read. The use of the word unduly is in itself an admission that we will be affected in some way to a greater or lesser degree. Therefore, this appears to be an infringement of policy ENV2, as it clearly has an adverse impact on our amenity in several ways, leading to a reduction in our quality of life. The most seriously affected property is number 1 Cophurst Avenue. The proposed extension appears to breach the SPD policy 45-degree rule, a fact clearly stated by the planning officer herself in the last paragraph. However, she also surmises that the majority of the end of the extension will be screened from view and is therefore acceptable. This is just not so. A 3.3 metre high and 5.8 metre wide brick wall plus 1.2 metre wide canopy would stretch alongside number 1's side boundary and have an overbearing impact on their garden, patio and view from their glazed door and kitchen window. Common sense says that such a wide extension would seriously affect the outlook from their windows and the enjoyment of their garden. In our view, this is probably not acceptable. In accordance with the SPD policy 45-degree rule, why have policies if they are not adhered to? Incidentally, the kitchen of number 1 was not the result of a conversion of the garage as stated in the officer's comments, nor has the back of number 1 any extensions. We have been here since the property was built, and this is how it was planned and built. This is a red herring which seems to imply in some way that the kitchen shouldn't be where it is. Finally, we would like to say that we have always welcomed new neighbours to our friendly cul-de-sac. Newcomers who have decided to extend their properties have all been mindful as to how they would impact upon their neighbours' garden environment and amenity. All have sensibly considerately kept them under the 4 metre guideline to minimise any adverse impact on either side. By choosing to extend outwards 8 metres, virtually the full garden length up to a neighbouring property boundary and its kitchen, the applicant's proposal disregards the adverse effects the extension has on the environment and amenity of several neighbours, particularly number 1 Copperhurst Avenue. Thank you for your considering our points of view in your deliberations. And I was sent in by Mr. and Mrs. McCann of number 2, Mrs. V. Buttery of number 4, and Mr. and Mrs. R. Barker of number 6, Copperhurst Avenue. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. You can now go. Have we any comments?
Madam Chairman.
Councillor Turner?
Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Chairman, we've still got another speaker. There's Dennis Morton still to speak.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Yes, I'd just noted the letter. So, Mr. Morton.
Hello, thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm seeking to have this application refused. I would like to draw your attention to the inaccuracies of the planning officer's report dated 22nd of December. It states that number 1 Copthurst Avenue has partly converted the garage to form a kitchen, implying in some way that the kitchen should not be where it is. This isn't true. The house was designed and built with the kitchen at the rear of the garage. I have the original plans which can confirm this. The proposed extension clearly breaches the SPD policy 45-degree rule, a fact clearly stated by the planning officer herself. The policies are there, are they not, to protect the amenities of neighbouring properties. Also, the report states that the majority of the proposed extension will be screened by the existing boundary. Again, this isn't true. A garden fence cannot possibly screen a 7 metre by 3 metre high brick wall that's just 1.6 metres from the boundary. The only existing shrubbery between the 2 properties will have to be cut down to make way for the extension to be built. May I please remind you that the design principles SPD sets out the council's position with regard to single-storey rear extensions. It states the distance can be relaxed if sited away from the boundary, which this isn't. It is only 1.6 metres from the boundary, not 3 metres. In addition, it also states that single-storey extensions of greater than 4 metre depth will normally only be permitted if it does not breach the 45-degree rule, which this clearly does. I feel that there has been no consideration for the surrounding neighbours and the impact it will have on them. The GPDO states that the amenity of only adjoining neighbours can be considered. However, this proposed larger extension is on a corner plot and is front-facing onto Copthurst Avenue and will have an effect on the amenities of number 2, 4 and 6 Copthurst. This is why they have all submitted letters of objection. I hope you have all managed to read these before the meeting. Policy ENV2, Achieving Quality in Design and Conservation, states the siting and design should be in scale and in harmony with its surroundings. This will be breached. An 8 metre by 3 metre high glass frontage facing onto Copthurst Avenue is not in harmony and not in keeping with the surrounding properties and completely out of character with the keeping of the estate and the village. The sheer size and close proximity to number 1 Copthurst Avenue also constitutes cramming in. I, just like my neighbours, am not totally against an extension to number 19 Acres Brook, but it is disproportionate to the existing dwelling and it has an overbearing impact on the amenities of 1 Copthurst Avenue. I would be accepting of one that does not have an unacceptable impact on my amenity impinging on my human rights, and one that does not break the council's own policies and guidelines. Yes, permitted development new rules does allow for a maximum of 8 metres. It doesn't have to be 8 metres. It's not a target, it's a maximum. As a minimum amendment, the proposed extension should at least be set back further from my kitchen window in line with government policies. I urge you to reject this until it conforms to government policy. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak.
Catherine?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, to just go through a couple of issues that Mr. Morton raised, clarify things for members. There is an update report. Totally understand where Mr. Morton is coming from about the conversion. That must have been my misunderstanding. I went on site to establish what was there. It doesn't affect how we assess the impact, and that's what I would say. Whether it's a conversion or a new build, it was just background information. So it doesn't impact how we assess that window. Yes, it does breach the 45 degree. It is guidance, it isn't policy, and that is the difference. And what we look at is whether that's offset from the boundary, which it is. If it was directly up to the rear boundary, then it would have more of an impact on that. In our view, because of the boundary treatment and that offset, and it being a kitchen window, and there is other patio windows serving that room, the impact will be limited. But yes, there would be some impact. In our view, that would be acceptable. These type of applications, the larger home extensions, do allow applications to come in for prior approval, increasing the depth from 4 metres to 8 metres. We can only get involved if somebody objects, which is the case here. However, those objections can, and this is quite clear in law, can only be made or taken into account from immediate neighbours, which is why we've looked at the impact on number 17 and the impact on number 1. What we can't do is to take into account 2, 4 and 6 across the road. A, they're sufficient distance away, and B, they are not immediate neighbours in terms of the law and the regulations in this respect. So our view is it's acceptable. Members may wish to consider that.
Thank you very much, Catherine. Mr. Tetley?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Right. Just one point here. Why don't people go out and buy a property? Why don't they buy one the right size? We have a continued being battered all the time. People buy a house, it's not what they want, so they just put in extensions and extensions and extensions and leave it for us, committees like this, to sort out the problems. It just seems to me to be such a farce, and there's so many different regulations that get changed. I mean, the government didn't help it when they brought permitted development in with the new regulations. So it just gets, we are battling every month now at our parish council meetings, another one, and another one. And it's just getting silly. I feel sorry for neighbours that's been there for years and years. We want to be friends with everybody. That's what the parish council's here for, to help the village run as best we can. We don't get paid, we do it voluntary, but it's getting to the stage that it's nearly a full-time job for certain members of our parish council. And it's all right, government making rules, somebody else has to make them work. And if we reject everything that comes in, half of the village won't even speak to us, which I've been here 52 years, and Mr. Willoughby's been there 20 odd plus. And it's just ridiculous how we have to keep going on like this and coming back and coming back. If the extension was made a little bit smaller, perhaps everybody would be happy at the end of the day. But people just come in, move in. I don't know the gentleman that's put the application in. I don't know him personally. And they just stick the things in. They don't go and consult the people roundabout and say, look, we're thinking of extending. First thing they get to know about it is when the application's gone in and they get notifications of planning application. if people just used a bit of common and went and spoke to the neighbours before they do these things, life would be a lot easier for everybody. But that's life, so
That's life.
that's where we're going to.
Thank you, Mr. Tetley. Mr. Willoughby, you don't really have the right to come in, but I'll let you as I'm being generous.
I'm very grateful to you. I should say that the reason I've asked to come in is because I actually live immediately opposite this. I'm also the next nearest neighbour. I won't see the extension from my side, and I have no axe to grind from that point of view. Having listened to everything that was said, I just wanted to add that I would have thought another consideration here, if you look at the design of this particular extension, it is a huge amount of glazing all along one side. It is all glazed, the whole thing, looking straight out at Copthurst Avenue. And that, I would suggest, could be regarded as out of keeping with anything else in this area. I don't know whether that's actually a ground for refusal or whatever, but again, I would have thought that it was something that should be looked at in terms of the design. There's no other property on the whole of this estate with a huge grey area like that, looking out straight onto the roads. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Mr. Willoughby. Councillor Turner.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Madam Chairman, I was reading the report and saying that, yes, it does violate the 45-degree angle against number 1. And I was, in fact, inclined to support the application. I've just listened to Mr. Willoughby and looking at the design factors that are there, to have please correct me if I'm wrong, I haven't seen the design itself, an 8-metre length glazed panels directly looking out onto the street, that would be rather overstimulating and over impressive, and I'd be a little concerned on the design of that. If we could have some clarification, I see Catherine is looking to come in on this, and perhaps she can satisfy us all on that question. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Turner. Catherine?
Yes,
You're muted.
thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I've unmuted.
You're okay now.
Yes, the difficult ones for us as well, in terms of how we deal with them. My view would be to stick to impact or potential impact on immediately adjacent properties, if that was what members wanted to consider. In terms of design, I think it's more difficult with these. Materials are meant to match existing, hence the reason why, although it's recommended for approval, there's no conditions suggested, because we can only put conditions on for impact. But if members were minded to consider the impact on the neighbouring property and consider that would be potentially a reason for refusal, we could look at that.
May I come back on that, please, Madam Chairman?
Thank you, Catherine. Yes, Councillor Turner.
Madam Chairman, can Catherine confirm the suggestion from Mr. Willoughby of a very 8-metre length sections of glazed panels that are going to be visible to the frontage of this development?
Did you hear that, Catherine?
I did, yeah. You mean to the side of the development?
Yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't impact on anybody. Yes, it's likely to be visible because it's quite open on that frontage, but what we're looking at is impact on immediately adjacent properties.
Thank you, Catherine. Are there any other comments?
Could I comment, Chair? It's Councillor Newman.
Hi, Councillor Newman, yes.
Yeah, I think that Catherine has hit the nail on the head here with the impact of the overbearing impact on neighbours, and I will propose that we refuse this one. Thank you.
Thank you. It has been moved that we refuse this. Do we have a second?
I'll second that, Madam Chair.
I'm sorry, I can't see you, so can you tell me who you are?
Councillor Turner, I will second.
Councillor Turner, so you're
Newman.
seconding Councillor Newman's proposal that this be refused. All in favour of refusal? Councillor Newman, Councillor Turner?
Councillor Turner, yes.
Yes, I will go for support that as well.
Madam Chairman, can I just make sure that we clarify the reason for refusal? Because I
Yes,
think
certainly. Yeah.
As a householder one, it could be that this goes through the fast track appeal if they did appeal, and therefore we wouldn't be allowed to put further comments or a statement in. So we can just clarify it's the unacceptable impact on the neighbouring property. Number one, top first. Just yes, so that we can we know where the
so we know exactly what.
Yeah, precisely, and we can get that minuted in the.
If they go to appeal.
Sorry, councillor.
I said it's something that can be defended if the applicant goes to appeal.
Well, we wouldn't be able to put a statement in to defend it. That's why it needs to be minuted, the exact reason in the minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Catherine. So it has been moved, seconded and proposed that this application be refused.
Okay.
Agreed.
Thank you.
Agreed. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, we're just going to invite Councillor Leonti back into the meeting, Chairman.
Right. Yes.
Madam Chair, could I just have a word with Catherine Hughes, please, the planning officer?
Yes, certainly.
Catherine, are you there, please?
Councillor Newman.
I am Councillor Newman, yes.
Right, Catherine, could I just ask what is happening up at Douglas Hall Farm with the larger building that is coming?
Councillor Newman, can I just say this is being live streamed, so I think it's probably better to have the conversation outside the meeting.
You can if you like.
Yeah. Okay.
You. Right, okay.
Right, so that's the planning applications dealt with. So we now come on to planning appeals. We've had one result, notification, and an appeal against the refusal of planning permission for erection of a two-storey detached dwelling house and parking at 11 West Close Avenue. And the appeal has been dismissed. Enforcement action with no change on those. Carlo's still waiting to come in. Financial matters. Capital programme. We have £16 left in the capital programme.
Sounds like a good night out.
Not very good at £16, I'm afraid.
Depends where you go after.
Sorry, Chair. Joanne, maybe you can confirm this. Is there a decision to be made on the second paragraph for the Pendle Scouts Club, or is that just for information?
No,
as we've only £16 left, we can't really make any decision other than my night out.
Apologies, I didn't hear.
Sorry, that was all very unclear to me.
I didn't hear a word.
Distorted. So members are asked to make a decision about whether the £2,000 grant to Pendle Scouts Club can be used for IT equipment rather than the outdoor shelter, which is what it had been.
Well, the original bid did include the IT equipment.
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
It was for outdoor shelter and IT equipment.
The original application was, but when you came to make the decision, you asked that it be specifically used just for the outdoor shelter. So the Scouts have come back now asking if they can use it for the IT equipment. So if you're happy to do that, I can minute to that effect.
Yes. Is everybody happy?
I'm happy.
Yeah.
You're happy, I'm happy.
No problem.
No problem, right?
Okay, thank you.
Obviously.
Okie doke then, final. Reopening of Barrowford Town Centre. Councillor Turner, have you anything? I mean, it's completely changed, of course, now.
Exactly, Madam Chairman.
Yeah.
Over the last 10 days, it has gone from bad to disaster. However, it's not as disastrous as we would like it to be, or some people would like it to be. I would ask, first of all, can I ask a question of Mr. Walker? Mr. Walker, if we have made provision for supply of items and supply of units for under the ERDF, but not actually executed them because of the present conditions with COVID, long as we have entered contract and possibly prepaid or agreed to prepay, would we then be covered under ERDF funding?
In response to your question, I think if we have committed a order through economic development, then yes, it doesn't. A delay in providing the service or delivery of the service wouldn't be a problem.
Even just to clarify, even if the supply of the service that we receive from them is after March the 31st because of the COVID.
My understanding, and hopefully I'm not wrong, but is if we commit if we raise an order and we commit to carrying out some activity, even if it is after the March 31st deadline, then you can still use the EDRF funding.
Fine. Thank you, Mr. Walker. May I now say, Madam Chairman, that I would propose to this committee that we actually look at developing and defending the traders in and around Barrowford by the installation of a video. Yes, I'm suggesting we use Voidwell. The reason is that we have experience by looking at Tone to see how well their video worked. And yes, we will be probably trying to copy some of what they have done as well. That would cost us £1,000 for the initial installation. I would then suggest a production of initially an A5 leaflet that I would like to see distributed ASAP as soon as the video, video and the web page is in existence, so as to draw people's attentions in and around Barrowford of what we can offer them in Barrowford, even in these difficult times, and also an advertisement in Red Rose at the first available issue after the setting up of the web page. All of those issues will cost in the order of £2,074. I would then propose that after lockdown, we look at the concept of a further leaflet drop, which is similar to the leaflets that we are presently, we have been circulating to identify for the reopening of the town, so that we actually put those out to the residents to say, we are now reopened and coming in and join us. Again, with an additional advertising for that month, which again is another £474. And then also, we'll get Voidwell to extend the use of the web page to incorporate the villages, so that we can actually bring people in to the town, but also engage the villages to both use the town and also for people in the town to use the villages. And may I also ask that Void will offer a very good service where they do a monthly update where they identify what they call a hero unit, and yes, that gets the priority with a video of that unit, but again, it is a video of Barrowford High Street, and they would then identify what they do to bring people into Barrowford, and it would rotate down the town. I would suggest, if I may, that I would be asking the financial section after May for a donation of £2,000 towards this out of our capital funding next year. And I would also be asking Barrowford Parish Council for a similar notation to be put in their precepts to facilitate this, to bring people in, along with the fact that I would be speaking to the traders and asking the traders in Barrowford and Barrowford area to come along and contribute something in the order of £25 a month into a specific account to counteract the money that they're receiving from the area committee and also from Barrowford Parish Council, so as to pay for this funding, to give it a full 12-month expense and to make sure that we can then see Barrowford brought back to the limit that it is at the moment, way up the top, and try and bring more strip shops and more people into Barrowford. Any questions? Happy to answer.
Thank you, Councillor Turner. Any?
Madam Chair, could I come in here, please?
Yes, certainly you can, Councillor Newman.
Right, thank you, Madam Chair. I'd just like to say that the proposals that have been put forward, yes, but there's going to be a lapse between a lot of this being able to go out due to the COVID, and the supermarkets are going to be, they are running just as normal, and I think you might lose a bit of your potential here. Could we not incorporate the supermarket like booths and what have you in this scheme? Okay.
Madam Chairman, may
Thank
I
you.
point out that the booths would be incorporated within it, and I'm confident that booths will be contributing to the monthly allowance. I'm saying £25, I'm talking of general stores, general shops at that stage, and I do appreciate that supermarkets are being successful, and what I'm trying to do, if we do go down this route, is to get in touch with as many retailers in Barrowford as we can to see how many of them may, in the web page that we're about to produce, that we would produce, are able to offer online services during the close down.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Personally, I think we ought to wait until the situation is a little bit clearer. I don't think we can be asking any trader at the moment, to contribute financially, and we cannot, of course, be deciding what happens with our funding next year, which we may not be getting. So,
could I come in back on that one? Sorry, Madam Chairman. I can see the reasons that people would suggest a delay in action, but could I ask Mr. Walker, please, to clarify, in the event of non-expenditure of this funding, at what stage does Pendle anticipate reallocation of funds to other areas of Pendle?
I have raised that question and don't have a specific answer, is my answer, Councillor Turner. There is a report going to management team, the Council's management team, next Tuesday, which sets out the spend at this moment in time on the EDRF funding. So I probably will be able to come back to you all after that meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Walker.
thank you, Mr. Walker. Possibly we can have an update then and a full report in February.
Well, I think February will be a little bit late, frankly, Madam Chairman. May I suggest that, and I hate to put Mr. Walker under any pressure here, But if Mr. Walker could outline what time the management meeting is on Tuesday, and if he wouldn't object, would he possibly be prepared to transmit to myself or to members of this committee what the decision is, and then perhaps, Madam Chairman, we as a committee could get together on Tuesday, if we can't make a decision today, to outline exactly where we propose to go. Because if we leave it till February, we are then in a situation of the 28th of February, we have only got 31 days left for the money to be taken back into another purpose. And I agree that the money should not be wasted at all, because the RDF will take it back otherwise.
Mr. Walker?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, the meeting of the Strategic Crisis Management Team usually takes place at 10:30 on a Tuesday morning. I'll gladly report back any information I receive from that. Just in view of the funding decisions that need to be made, my understanding is you don't necessarily need to wait for the area committee meetings. It's a working group that is set up to reopen the town centres, so you can make decisions in between meetings and don't necessarily have to wait for the area committee.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Mill. Mr. Oliver?
Thank you, Chair. I know this is a decision for the committee members, but I see that there's a proposal in it for the parish council to continue with £500 a month, but I don't think any decisions should be taken that are contingent upon that ongoing funding, which I expect Councillor Turner will put to the next full parish council meeting in due course towards the end of this month.
Madam Chairman, I would be proposing it to the parish council, obviously. I'm just outlining what the recommendations are, and in the event that these two packages are reduced or not available, then the continuation of funding would in fact be down to what I could generate from retailers. I would be asking within this package that we undertake out of the ERDF funding to pay for the first 4 months of this £500 a month package, so that the traders will have had 3 months experience before they have to start contributing into seeing what is coming from it. Because obviously to simply go in to ask traders for funding without them being totally aware of what is coming. I would say that I have spoken to 4 traders in Barrowford who have been positive in their response, one of which said, "Oh, is this anything like Cone? The fares is fantastic." So I'm quite confident we will be able to secure some help from traders in Barrowford, and at least with the proposals that I'm bringing forward, with the first 4 months coming out of the ERDF funding, we will have had a chance to assemble the funding as we're going on from there. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Oh, hang on. Lower hand. Okay.
Yeah. So I think the next thing, we're waiting for another meeting of the subcommittee to look at this.
Okay. Can I therefore suggest, if we can't make a decision on this today, could I request members, are they available on Tuesday of next week, which is Tuesday the 12th? And may I suggest that we have a meeting, could I suggest 2 p.m. to give Mr. Walker opportunity to have had his management meeting, attended to any issues that have come up whilst his management meeting is in place, and have given us an update on what the situation is.
I think yes. Would that be all right with you, David?
I don't think I have any way of saying no, but no, clearly it will be. Gladly.
Yeah.
Sorry,
You
David,
can't
what I'm
use
thinking
the meeting as an excuse, can you?
Yeah,
You can't organise that go on through Teams.
Yeah, what I'm thinking, David, is that with the weather as it is at the moment, I'm just anticipating if there is any inclement weather that cause difficulties with the drivers.
We have inclement weather that will cause difficulties planned for the next few days, but I don't think it'll stop me reporting back to you on Tuesday.
Cheers. Thank you very much, David.
Thank you, David.
Would you be available on Tuesday afternoon at 2 o'clock?
I shall just check. I think at this moment in time I will be, thank you.
Yeah. How about Hassan?
I can't answer for Hassan, but...
Yeah, no, 2 o'clock's fine on Tuesday.
Okay. That's fine. Can I therefore suggest then, Madam Chairman, that if we can't make a decision today, that the elected members meet again via team at 2 o'clock on Tuesday, and I'll try and see what the hell's wrong with this computer so as I can actually speak correctly instead of constantly holding the phone to your ear.
Right, that's fine. 2 o'clock on Tuesday. Yes. Thank you.
Fine. Thank you very much, Madam Chairman.
And you'll notify Mr. Springer on Barrowford Parish Council.
I shall do. I shall send the information out, and Mr. Stringer, Mr. Oliver will be welcome. I think you will agree with me that to attend because of their involvement with Barrowford.
Yes. Well, I think we did agree originally that the Parish Council would be involved.
Yes, right. Well, I would, as I do, as a matter of course, I would include them in the email that we send out. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Right, thank you. Environmental blight. There's no new sites being put forward. Any new sites should be put to Patricia Wilson or Julie Whittaker. Exclusion of public and press is agreed. The public and press be excluded.
So we've just got one member of the public with us, Dennis. So if you don't mind, do you want to leave the meeting or I can remove you? It's up to you. Oh.
Remove me, please. Thank you.
I'll remove. Do you not know how to? Is that why you've been stuck there? You don't know how to get out?
No, I just think
It's like it's just go to the red button that says leave.
He's gone.
Yes.
Was that all?
That's it.